You know, in the black community, there is so much problems. You have the highest violent crimes in our communities. You have its women having so many abortions. You have black on black crime, drug dealers killing one another, all within the black community. Yeah, all dirty laundry is outside for all to see. But what is causing all this problem? Let's see. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Yes, it is another day. It is May 27, 2020. And the time now is 4:33 a.m. And I'd like to dedicate this audio to a Ms. Amy Cooper, the woman who on Memorial Day, who falsely accused a black man, and Amy is white, but this white woman, you Amy, accused Christian Cooper of assaulting you and your dog. I'd like to entitle this audio as White Women. Why do you repay us, black people, this way? So yes, this black man named Christian Cooper was enjoying the birds. And he was just being informative to you, because obviously you must not have seen the sign, even though you were right in front of it, that said that dogs are to be leashed and dogs aren't allowed on that section. And so this black man politely said that your dog is off leash and it needs to be on the leash according to the sign. And what did you do? You stormed over to him, even though he told you to back away from him, and he even used the word please, and you stuck out your finger. You took your finger and put it towards his face in anger. And you said, you better turn off that recording. You didn't want to be videotaped doing a no-no. Why did you do that, Amy? Amy Cooper. Why did you do that? Why did you get angry at someone who was just being informative and he spoke nicely? Why did you lie on Christian Cooper? Why? We've done you no harm. Historically, we did everything for you, white woman, and you didn't seem to mind then. We, historically in the Americas, cooked your food. We cleaned your home. So what was the problem? Is this how you repay us, Amy? Amy Cooper? Is this how you repay us? And so when you called the cops and you said that a black man assaulted me in my job, did you know and realize, Amy, that that could have gotten the black man arrested and thrown in jail and maybe even cost him his life? You know how the cops act towards some black men in New York City. Was your attempt to have him killed, Amy Cooper? And luckily, this Christian Cooper had his recording on and recorded everything, and even recorded you threatening him that what you're going to do, and say that an African American man assaulted you and your dog. And so he said, go right ahead. See, you're cocky and you're an arrogant woman. And so you didn't like when you were in the driver's seat telling him what to do. So instead, he had the power seat and it made you feel uncomfortable. But that's how you repay me. That's how you repay us, black people. We've done you no harm historically. And then I'm reminded about another story. Another time, Amy Cooper, another white woman, had some type of problem. She was a married white woman. She had children, beautiful children. And one day, Amy Cooper, this white woman also developed a problem. She too lied on an innocent black man. And this black man actually wasn't even a real person. He never existed. One day, this white woman was disappointed in her married life, whatever. She may have had a lover, and she wanted to get out of this relationship. Or was it that she wanted just to have the kids removed so she can get this new lover? So Amy Cooper, she took her vehicle and ran it off a bridge into the water below, climbs out of the vehicle, and had all of her children drown. And it was discovered, well, she went to the authorities and said a black man stole her car and children and killed them. And she even gave a composite of what this black killer looked like. But Amy Cooper, upon close investigation of her story, it was discovered that she, and she alone, murdered her white children for a lover and blamed it on a fictitious black person. But Amy Cooper, what did we do to you historically for you to feel that you can do that. Why? We breastfed your children. We cleaned their diapers. We were their playmates. So Amy Cooper, why do you pay us back this way? I'm also reminded of other things. I remember I was at a job and I was called at midnight to help you out, to help this white woman out at this corporation because they had a project to do. So I was called at the last minute and I raced to the job. And when I arrived and opened the door, she sees little old me. And she gave me such a grimace. And I didn't understand why she looked at me such way. And it's like I couldn't do anything right in her eyes. And she was so inappreciative of my help. Even though there was no one else there and no one else who was available to do it. So why did she mistreat me? Amy Cooper, this white woman, was so harsh with me. And when the assignment was completed after a few hours, she needed to fill out my timesheet, to sign her name on the bottom. She says, well, you wait. I have to make a phone call. So I waited and actually waited a half hour. And then she got off the phone, and so I represented the time card to her. And she says, I'm not going to pay you for this half hour. I said, well, I was here, and you're paying me for the time that I was here. And so you're assigning it now, and the time now is such and such. So, well, I'm not going to pay you for it, for the time with my being on the phone. I'm not going to sign it at all. So I left Amy Cooper, and I called my agency. And I knew what the problem was, Amy Cooper, but I knew that it would be offensive to the white people at the agency. So I naively just said, the behavior that you emitted to me, and replied, why did she do that? I don't know why she did that. And then I started to cry. And the agency, I'm pretty sure they know what the deal was. And so the agency said, we'll pay you. And yes, I was paid. So Amy Cooper, I was sent there to help you. Why? Why did this white woman mistreat me so? I gave her kindness, a helping hand, and she bit my hand. Why did she do this? Amy Cooper. Historically, we've done so many things for you. We tidied your home. We cooked your food. We even healed the sick in your home. And so why do you repay us this way, Amy? Amy Cooper. I'm also reminded of other things. So many, many things. This is an interesting story. This happened about 5 years ago. I knew someone who knew someone. I wanted to go to this religious ceremony, this very, very private affair. And so because I was someone who knew someone who knew someone who had a membership there, I was first interviewed by a white woman. She was second in charge of the group. So we had an initial meeting, and she gave me a set of instructions in writing, and I followed that list to a T. I was to bring a number of items, and since it was a lot of items, it required something to carry it all in. And so I purchased a tote bag, and I put everything that was on the list. Now the tote bag was, a regular beach style tote bag. It had 3 colors to it, horizontal stripes. They were muted in color. I think the colors were red and green and blue. And then the rest of the basket, the tote bag was like a straw color. And so I had the bag next to me. And she says, well, you can't put your bag over there next to you. Put it over there. So it was at the corner. And then she comes over. She says, no, I don't, your bag, I don't want your bag over there. Oh, it might cause distraction because it's so bright, the colors. And, so-and-so who's going to do the ritual, they may see your bag in the corner. Oh, and so she takes, she's acting real flustered. And then she puts her hands inside my tote bag and starts dumping stuff out. What are you doing? Oh, it's so big, just going off. And I felt like I had to bite my tongue because I am a stranger there. It's not a lot of black, people of color there. And it took a long time, about 5 months, to get access to this place. And I felt that if I challenged her, that I would be thrown out. I didn't like that decision I made, but I did do that. And then she puts the stuff back in. And in hindsight, I'm thinking, did she really feel the color of the tote bag that was way over in the corner? It's a very large space. And it was in a corner that was diagonally across from the man. So it's not like directly in front. And again, the guy is, the man that's to conduct the ceremony, is focused on the altar, not my tote bag. And so I feel that what really happened was she wanted to know what was inside my tote bag. And that was the real excuse, the color. But she wanted to access what's inside. She wanted access to know what was inside my bag. And I didn't like that. And I said to myself that I don't want this to ever happen again. So, I did go through the ceremony. And I go home. And then I called her the next morning. And I told her, I said, I have to tell you something, and you're not going to like what I'm going to say. But, when you put your hand inside my tote bag, I was offended, and I don't want that to ever happen again. So I want to feel comfortable next time I come and not fear that you're going to violate my space.
She didn't really have much to say. I don't remember whether she apologized, but yes, I did was able to come to following ceremonies. But I noticed that every time I come in, it's always something else. See, I challenged her and she didn't like it. And so the following visits there, oh, you're not singing, you're not singing. And I was, well, I don't speak the language that they were speaking, but I was into the music and just, quiet and following along. That's everything, every little thing. See, what happened was that she had a power issue. She wanted to assert herself, and she wasn't used to, I speculate, a black person to put her in a place. And I was being very polite. I could have made a scene at the place and outed her for what she done to me. No one should have their property examined and stuff dumped out. She'd even asked me. She just took my tote bag, moved it, and then started to take stuff out. You violate space. Amy, Amy Cooper, why do you do things like this? You go into people's property, you do things without permission, and you get all flustered because of what's going on in your head. And what's going on in your head has nothing to do with the party. Nothing. You violated my space. You violated my tote bag. You violated my property. And I hate when you do things like that. You're presumptuous that you can just do things. But God forbid if a black person did that to your belongings and took your purse and commenced putting their hands inside your belongings and dumping all your stuff out. You didn't do that to anyone else but me. And I was the obvious non-white person there. I was the only American black there, and you violated my rights, I feel. How dare you? How dare you do such thing? This is the sentiment that a lot of white women have against black people. It's a lack of respect, and it's like a white supremacy attitude that some of you have against black people, and I can't stand it anymore. One day, one other occasion, Amy Cooper, I was to share a room with another person, a house actually. And this house, I was referred to this person by a black man, a black Rasta man in the Caribbean. And he said, hey, I know this Irish sister. And she, I think, has a room to spare. So I go there, and I was interviewed very harshly by this white woman. This white woman sported dreadlocks. And there was another white woman also there who had a natural, a regular European styled hairdo. But the white woman with the dreadlocks, she said to me, if you move in, you can't bring any boys over. So I said, okay. And I thought the rule was to apply for all of us women that lived in that house. And then one day,
this white woman that sported the dreadlocks, she had a black boyfriend who also sported dreadlocks. And her boyfriend lost his job. So she comes to me and says, "Oh, would you mind if my boyfriend moves in with us? Because he lost his job." And so I thought a moment, and I remembered that she said that you're not allowed to have any men sleep over and move in. So I said, yes, I do mind. Well, this is how she repaid me. She got angry and then said, well, he could move in anyway. I had to go to work that day, but when I came back, this white woman who likes to have sex with black men took my food that was in the refrigerator and left it on the counter so it could spoil in the tropical sun of the Caribbean. Amy Cooper, why did she do that to me? I never hurt her, and I was abiding by her rules, but she, like you, Amy, didn't like to hear no, because you always like to have your way, and have your way with us. So Amy Cooper, good for evil. And this was the same woman that was telling me a story that when she lived in Chicago, she was messing around with some black men. She had a white husband and a white child, and she left them to have this fling. And she told me that one day she thought she got pregnant by the black man, and that she raced to the abortion clinic and said, "Me have a black child? I'm not ready for that." And then while she was sitting there, her period came, and how relieved she said she was. So Amy Cooper, why would she tell me something evil like that? Why did she repay my good nature for an evil story of her not wanting to have to birth a black child? Yet she likes to sexually go out with black men. Why? Why did she do that? You know, Amy Cooper, historically, we had our own children, and our children were used as playmates for yours, treated your children better than our own. So why, Amy Cooper, why did you repay me harm for my good nature? I was in the military, and I did not understand why I was at my bunk bed. I had the top bunk because that was what was left and assigned to me, and a white woman sleeping below. And it turned out that this white woman, for whatever reason, would put what they call in the military gear drift hidden underneath my mattress. Gear drift is like debris, things that are unauthorized to be on your bed. She'll put gum wrappers and other stuff underneath my mattress and hope that one day, when during inspection, I would get the hit for it and get punished. Why Amy? Amy Cooper. Why did this white woman do this to me? Why did she betray my good nature for good? And when I went on vacation, she took her shoes and put it on top of my locker, on top of my clothes. And so when I came back from vacation and saw her shoes on top of my clothing, on top of my locker, I asked her kindly to move them, and she said no. So, Amy Cooper, I told her, if you don't remove your shoes from on top of my locker and my clothes, I will remove them for you. And so she said for me to do it. And so I did. And she reported me. Why? Why Amy? Amy Cooper? Why this white woman repaid me evil for good? I have done her no harm. Why? Why at my job? This other job I had. And the job had this woman, another white woman. And you know what this white woman said to me? She had a busy cubicle that had a lot of stuff, a lot of clutter. She was very busy all the time. And my desk, I was new at the job, and she resented that I didn't have a lot of work, perceived work, as she did. And so she came over to my desk and said, how come you have your desk and I have mine? And how come I have to do all this work and you don't? Again, we are in different departments. But she felt the need to air this concern. And I'm looking baffled at her. This is many years ago. Many years ago. And I'm not used to this type of talk. And then she said, well, how did you get your job? I should have your job. I work hard. I want to know how you got your job. So I said, well, I just mailed in my resume and they interviewed me and they hired me. Well, I should have your job. And then so I walked away from her. And then she followed me to the bathroom to continue to berate me. Amy Cooper, why does this white woman feel that she has the right to tell me that she should have my job? Why? Why does she repay evil for good? I mean, we were going to go out one day for lunch. Why, Amy? Amy Cooper, why does this white woman repay me harm? Why does she feel I'm not entitled to apply for a job and get employed? Why? Why Amy? Amy Cooper, why did she repay evil for good to me? I have many stories. So many stories. Amy Cooper. One day I had a so-called white friend. I've known her since the 7th or 8th grade. And yes, and one day Amy Cooper, this other white friend, girlfriend of mine, I thought, had a fling with this black Cuban guy, and her light-skinned friend from Colombia. When the Colombian girl, saw You talking to the dark-skinned black Cuban boy. Why did she call your parents to get you in trouble by your white father, and then he beat you, your father? Your black friend, me, and the other two friends of ours, black friends, we never said anything, but that light-skinned Colombian girl did. And yet, you didn't have us come to the house. I wasn't permitted in the house. But this person, why did you repay me evil for good? Amy Cooper. And then in college, I met your new boyfriend. And eventually you married him. And I wasn't invited to the wedding. I was not notified. And we bumped into each other in the street. And you invited me over to spend the weekend. And then your Caucasian husband of mixed heritage, of mixed Arab and white heritage, asked me a very embarrassing question regarding my skin color and my skin texture and all that. And so, in private, I told this so-called white friend of mine that I didn't like what the new husband had said. And you get so flustered, and you said, don't ever call you anymore. Why, Amy? Amy Cooper. Why did she treat me evil for good? I knew her way before her husband and have been a loyal friend for years. But when the race card spun its ugly head and other incidences that happened, so Amy Cooper, why did she stop wanting to be my friend? I never said anything about her people. And when I only said that it upset me what her husband said, why does that mean that now we cannot be friends anymore? Amy Cooper. Historically, we've gone through so much as a people. We tended your gardens. We listened to all your problems. And this is how you repay us? Evil for good? So I can go on and on and on and on. All these disparities. I remember on another occasion, I worked with another white woman. She was from Europe, Central Europe. I used to work at a resort. And one day, the woman where I worked for got jealous. See, she used to be in the same status position as me, but she wanted to work part-time so she can have more time for her kids. So she knew the operation of the company. She knew how it worked. She and her husband worked for the same company. And I was new. But I noticed her attitude started changing when the head of that department invited me to have lunch with the other employees while she had to finish her work. And she made it seem like she was the one in charge and said I shouldn't be going out for my lunch break. I mean, not my coffee break. And so I asked the guy that invited me, I said, hey, is so-and-so the head of the department? He said, no, I am in charge. I said, well, she was saying that I shouldn't go on my breaks with you. Why, Amy? Amy Cooper, did this white person feel the need to assert and imply that she was the head of the department, when actually I was more senior to her in position? And then get this still further. Amy Cooper. One day, she asked me how come that she didn't get the same type of name tag as I did. I said, I don't know. You're no longer a permanent staff. You're part-timer. If you remained your status, you would have got one too. But she didn't like that. She didn't like that I had a name tag with my job title, which was higher than her status. And that burned her. And so she started to encroach on my space. But see, I was supervisor over my assistant. She did not have an assistant. She was somebody else's assistant, the person who was head of that department. And so I had an assistant, and the man was over her to be the assistant. And so she started to tell my assistant what to do. So I said, excuse me, I am his supervisor, not you. I am to tell him what to do and not you. So she insisted to tell my assistant what to do. So I said, I am in authority over him in position. He is my assistant, and to mind your own business and mind your own affairs. Well, she didn't like that. And I didn't like it either, what she did. So I went to the manager. And the manager was her husband. He apologized for his wife. He was a good guy at heart. He also was from the same country she was from. And he said, I will speak to her. And then the next day, she comes to me and says, how dare I speak to her husband? I said, I didn't speak to her husband. I spoke to the manager, who so happened to be her husband. So I reminded her to mind her own business. Well, she didn't like that. And guess what happened? She took a knife and went to stab me with it, because we had got on a verbal altercation. So why Amy? Amy Cooper. Why did that white woman betray a goodness for evil? I never did any harm. I actually respected her work. Why did she feel a need to get into my affairs when she had plenty of work of her own to do? Why Amy? Amy Cooper. Why did she do that to me? What did we do historically as a black woman do to you to get treated this way?
You know, Amy Cooper, the story actually gets better. Well, when she raised the knife to stab me, I screamed out loud to get the other people in the room to be aware of what she was about to do. And I ran out of that room, the department head, and told him what happened. He said, "I'll handle it." I said, "Okay, I'll wait out here." And so I thought he would want me to call the police, so I called the police. And then when the police came, I told the police what happened. He takes his car and he drives onto the resort, and I walked over to the area where they were to be. And so now I'm about to enter the room where this female co-worker and the head of the department, this other head, the super head of that department, and I think the chief of the resort was in the room. And guess what happens? He said, the head, the super head said, "I thought I told you that I was going to handle this." And then he pushes me out the room and slams the door. Well, there was a dialogue in that room. And then when the meeting of the witnesses and the cop and everybody else came out the room, the cop threatened me. And I realized now he was just trying to intimidate me. And he said, "Just go back to work. And I'm going to go back to the police station. And when I come back, I'm going to arrest one of you." I'm thinking, this is weird. And I was very frightened, for I've never been arrested or in trouble with the authorities. And he eventually came back and he said, "You just drop everything and just go back to work." I said, "Well, I didn't take the knife to stab anyone. She went and was about to stab me, and I want to be protected. She should be arrested for attempting to assault me." And he said no. So it was the end of that shift, and the people of that lady, her shift was over. And so when it was my time to go back and prepare for the next meal, nothing was said. And then the following morning, no, I forget, that evening when we were to have dinner, see, all the cooking staff have dinner together. And the executive chef there, worked in the cooking field, slammed something in front of me on the table. He throws this object on his table next to me, and to intimidate me. And he glared at me, and he doesn't say anything else. What I didn't know, to make a long story short, that a report was written, and there was an individual who was at that meeting, who was not even at the scene of the potential violent crime against my persons, and he made a fictitious story about me. This was another white man. See, Amy, what you do, Amy Cooper, you teach people like you teach your families to show contempt for Black people and Black women. And so what happened, that this man that was at the meeting lied on me and it was to win favor. And this white man I thought was my friend. I shouldn't say friend, but see, he handled, uh, he was in the food department also, but not the cooking staff. But he would join us, the cooking staff, and sit and talk about how he hates the French people, blah, 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 blah. And I had gone to a party once. And see, I was very conservative back then, very quiet. And I was into partying at all. I work and then go home and sleep. So but one day I said, some people of the resort is asking about me, and hey, how come she doesn't go to any of the parties? So I went. I said, let me check out some of these parties. So I went. And this person who lied on me to the police officer in the report, and another fellow, the other fellow was a black fellow, and they escorted me into the party, the dance floor. It was a lot of fun. One had one arm, the other one had another arm, and we all going arm in arm and just partying. It was so much fun. And we all got along. The cooking staff is a very close staff. But it would turn out it was that individual who lied on me for whatever reason. And I speculate because what happened at the end was that he got promoted. So he'll tell us, the cooking staff, one thing, how he hates the French culinary staff. The culinary staff was, one group was American and the other was mainland French, and how he hates the French. And so a false report was written, and it explains in part why the white police officer did what he did. Now, why would a police officer not have me in the room to give my testimony and find out what the others are saying? Why did he allow the other person to push me out the room and slam the door and lock it? I was banished from that room. So what happened here, Amy Cooper? Well, it was a construction. Since you are the female of the home, and you teach your white children, both male and female, how to teach your children how to handle black people. And if necessary, I speculate, to fib on black people and black women if any white person is to get in trouble. So it doesn't matter what was done to me, but that it is a collective, that when a white person is in trouble and the party, the second party is a black person, to protect the white person. And so that would entail lying about me. When something told me that I needed to make a phone call outside of the resort on a private phone, nothing on the premises. And I called the Department of Labor, because now 2 weeks had passed and they still have me working with this woman who put a knife to me. She was never reprimanded. Nothing. They could have replaced her and put someone else in, but they didn't. So the Department of Labor said, hey, so if it was a police came on the scene, that anytime a police officer comes to any location, a police report has to be written up. So go and make sure you get that police report. I said, oh, I didn't know that. So I went. And initially there was some friction between me and the other cop, because something that I said that the cop had threatened me, even though I'm the one that called the police for help. And so they eventually found the report. And when I read it outside of the police station, my mouth dropped. And I read what the so-called friend who escorted me onto the dance floor to just dance with a bunch of people, and how much he hates the French. Well, he lied on me to get favor and a promotion. He was rewarded. So I guess his white mother taught him well, and so eventually I was released from that club. Yes, because what happened when I discovered after 2 weeks, when I read the report, I locked myself in my room and cried. And I didn't report to work that weekend. I was to have off that weekend, and they denied me that weekend off, even though it was my time to have that specific weekend off. So in defiance, I didn't go. I don't know who did my job, but I knew what my right was. And I had my lunch and my dinner with satisfaction. And then when the weekend was up, one of the managers of the resort approaches me and tries to intimidate me. And these are people that I would eat with, because he's part of the cooking staff, but in management. And he tried to order me to go alone in a room with him. I said, I'm not going to go in any room alone with you. You got to be out of your mind. I don't trust you. And he said, fine. Well, by the afternoon, you better be out of this resort. And I said, fine. And I had my lunch. I had a good lunch. And then I left. So I guess, Amy Cooper, you and your white sons teach them very well how to handle black women and black people. Shame on people like you.
A couple of years ago, I had a white neighbor. And one day she came up to me in the hallway. I lived in an apartment building. And she said, boy, people aren't friendly here. We don't talk to each other and blah, 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 blah. And we should learn to communicate with each other, blah, 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 blah. Now I thought to myself, I guess she's trying to extend to me and wants to initiate friendship. So, one day, when I was making a cheesecake, I thought, oh, well, this might be a nice gift, a nice neighborly thing to give a piece to my neighbor. And so I did so. And then she slid a note under my door, thank you. And that was it. She never, outside of that, extended any real friendship. But when we're at the elevator, we'll just give small niceties. And that was it. And one day, after that, see, I have little dogs. And sometimes, my dogs were very young at the time. And yes, on occasion, they did bark. And so, the next time I saw her by the elevator, waiting for it to come, I apologized. I said, oh, I know my dog was barking the other day. I apologize if it woke you up or anything. She says, oh, no. I don't hear a thing. Once I close my door to my apartment, I don't hear anything. And so I said, oh, well, just in case if you heard anything, and the dog barking, I apologize. And then I had a guest one day to my home. And my dog was very happy to see this person. And they started barking. And this was like at 3 p.m. in the afternoon. And yes, my dogs were barking. Well, it could have been maybe 10 seconds later that she had complained and had the concierge yell at me and to have my dog stop barking. So I was really surprised. And then guess what? Now the dogs quieted and my guest left. And then I found a note on my door. And guess what this neighbor, this white woman, did? She threatened to see, even my dog is getting excited as I tell the story. She wrote a note and said that she was going to call the authorities, the ASPCA, that I'm abusing my dog. I was horrified. And so I knocked on her door, and she would not open. So I wrote a note and left it on her door. And then I closed my door, and then she opened her purse and snatched the note from the door, because she must have been looking through the peephole, and so that I put something on her door. And she never responded to my letter, because I apologized for my dog barking, and I explained to her that a guest had come, and my dog just got a little excited, and that I would even take her out for lunch as a consolation. She never responded, and then she even pretended she didn't know me in the hallway. So Amy Cooper, why did that white woman repay evil for good? Why? I done her well. I made a cake, a cheesecake at that, and shared it to her. Even after she had initially said, oh, how come we're not friendly to each other on this floor? No one talks to each other. Well, she had the opportunities to invite me to parties. She had given these 2 wild parties. I never called the concierge upon her loud party. And so why did she repay me evil for good? I could have called downstairs and complained. But here a little dog, small dogs at that, who momentarily barked. Why when they get so offended so easily? Why do these white women repay evil for good to blacks and black women? When it's time to vote in New York City, you pretend to be what they call liberals. You talk to us and, oh, let's work together to get people in office. But then after the election, you act like you don't know us and don't want us. Why? Why, Amy Cooper? Why is your love so short to us? Why? Another time, Amy Cooper, a nicety was done to a white female neighbor. I had picked fruits from a tree. They were guavas. And I almost slipped and fell off the edge. But I was okay. And then I bring them home, and she had come out of her door and sat out the patio, and I said, "Hey, I have some guava. Would you like some?" And how she looked at it, and I got the impression that she thought I was handing her the whole basket. I said, "No, you can just have some." Well, Amy Cooper, this young white woman took all of them. She took the basket, brought it inside, and I thought she was going to come right out with it and just take what she wanted. She took the whole thing. Why Amy Cooper, why do some white women give us evil for good? I gave her goodness. Why don't you share? Why does the world have to share with you? And why do we get your leftovers? Why Amy Cooper, why do you give us the spoiled? Why don't you truly love and give? Why do you feel entitled? Amy Cooper, we've done you no harm historically. We've always been on your side. We just want peace and safety for our own, and we do anything to promote it. Why Amy Cooper, why do you give us evil for good? Amy Cooper, why do you hate us so much? You're the woman of the home. You teach your children the customs and the sentiments how to treat others, including us. And one day, it was right after 9/11, the World Trade Center incident. 2 weeks after the incident, I went to a bank to simply open up a checking account. It was free checking. And I was coming from out of state back to New York, and I was just trying to get back in the swing of things, coming back home to the city where I was born. And someone told me about this particular bank, for it had free checking. And so I called the bank 3 times to get information on what was required to open up a free checking account, and to just get further information on whether I should do this or not. And so I decided to open up a bank account at the bank. And so I go to the bank, and I made sure I had all the ID, all the requirements, because again, I called 3 times the bank. And the first person was a woman, and she looked in alarm. "You don't, wait a minute." And then she called the male manager, a white manager. Both were white. And I didn't know what was going on. And then he looked up my ID. I had like a passport, driver's license, social security card, everything that would be required. And they said, "I'm sorry, you cannot open up a bank account at this branch. You have to go elsewhere." I said, "Why?" They said, "Well, you don't live here. Do you work here?" I said, "No, I don't work here in the area." He says, "Well, you can't open up an account here. You have to live
at least 1 mile or work within 1 mile of this location. And again, this area was a predominantly white neighborhood. See, it was the business district of that area in Queens, New York City. And so that's why I wanted to open up an account there rather in my own immediate area, because they don't have the shopping there. And all the major shopping is usually always in some white community of some type. And so that's why I chose that location. And I said, well, I'm here and no one else is here. It's not like you're busy. I'm the only customer here. I just want to open up a checking account. And he said no. And then he proceeds to sit on the corner of the desk with his crotch inches away from my face. And I said, boy, this is getting kind of personal now. And he says, you should go open up an account in your neighborhood. And I told him, I said, well, I know I could do that, but I don't like over there. And I want to do my shopping in this neighborhood because it's a busy district. It has more stores. He says, well, we have a new policy that is called Know Your Neighbor. And if you don't live or work within a mile, you cannot open an account at this branch. Now, just a reminder, I called the bank 3 separate occasions, and they never mentioned this new policy called Know Your Neighbor. If this was essential, an essential requirement to be able to open an account in a particular location, that you had to live and or work there within 1 mile radius, you then cannot open an account there. But this was not the case. They never told me such policy. Now, I've in the past, at different branches when I was just a young girl, I opened up a bank account in another county outside of New York City limits, because it was a major shopping district where a lot of people from the border of New York City would go into Nassau County, New York, to do our shopping. And there was never a problem. But now 9/11 is an excuse to have a new policy. And see, this neighborhood, again, as I said, is predominantly white. And that's what the issue was. See, the new enemy was a brown and black face. For when I insist, I said, look, I don't understand. I have all my documents and I just want to open up an account. I could, continue going, go to my bank location to do my further bank if I need to. Just let me open up the account. But he said no. And then started to berate me. He said, I don't trust certain people. And, I think people like you are a terrorist. Something like that. He called me a terrorist. And said it odd. Why would I want to shop over here? I don't trust you. And then he started talking about black people. And then he started to sing a sing-song tune like da 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 da. This white man popped. He went crazy. And I pleaded, please, let me open up a checking account here. And he just went off. I then take my things and exit. And after I exited and then got home, I cried. Amy Cooper, why do you teach your sons such? Why do you teach them to call us a terrorist and to not be trusted? Amy, who's the real terrorist and not to be trusted? You knew who I was, Amy. For 500 years you've known me. 500 years, since 1492. You knew everything about me and people like me. And having ID at the bank it's still not enough. We don't have anything that you don't know about. And you knew damn well, Amy Cooper, that I was no terrorist, and that I was someone you can trust. Why, Amy Cooper, why do you give us evil for good? Look at Bill Cosby. Now, Bill Cosby may not be a saint, but for years and years and years, white people, specifically white women, came to him and did things with him willingly. And some of them, I believe, were telling the truth, but not all. But when things got sour, because it didn't get the movie roles or the TV roles they wanted, and when one lady cried wolf, all of you responded in unison and came forward and said, he raped them. Why, Amy Cooper, why is it that when things could be obtained from us, you eagerly come to us and take freely? But when things are said, and the said is the word no, you get a hissy fit. And now Bill Cosby is now in prison. Man, why do you hate us so much? I remember one day, Amy Cooper, I had gone to a dinner, and a white couple was invited to a black person's home. It was during the holidays, and you, your husband, and child were invited. You had a 6-year-old child, Amy, and they were to eat this rum cake. And the child wasn't being supervised, and the child took a sample of the rum cake. The child stood up, bent over, and then spat in the food, spat in the cake. I'm looking in horror. Sitting behind you guys, and you all pretended to not see what happened. Then I cried out, hey, your kid just spat in the food, spat in the cake. And oh. And there was no apology. What happened there, Amy? This woman at this affair reminds me of you. You teach in the home, you teach the cultural standards, and you probably taught that kid to disrespect this black woman's home, and taught not to like their food. I can only speculate. Again, I don't know what's in her head. But what happened? Why do you teach your kids to disrespect somebody's home like that? Someone's food. And for him to feel free to do that, what do you teach your kids? Amy Cooper, why do you hate us so much? You know something, Amy
Amy Cooper, you know, many whites in New York City pretend to be a white liberal. You may even have someone in school, your children, classmates, some of them may be black. When they're young, you have some of your children playing and interacting with little black children as like an example of diversity. And so the black child might say, oh wow, they like me. And they play, they think that they're equal. But when these kids, these black children come of age, dating age, all of a sudden this liberalness flies out the window and you no longer want your children associated with black people. And so you may send them away to faraway schools so that your kids will marry white. Amy Cooper, why do you hate us so much? I'm reminded, Amy Cooper, of a young 16-year-old black girl. She got this opportunity, like an internship during high school. And this was a private sector job. And she was given a little seat to sit in when the primary occupant of that desk was out. And the young girl, she had a relative who was a little baby. And so she just brought the little picture to look at, just like a lot of the other women there. They may have their boyfriends, their husband, their children, their family, you know. And so she did the same thing. It was one little baby picture. And then a white woman sees the picture and mocks the black baby. It was a black baby. And made fun of it right in front of me. And I thought to myself, oh my God, if this young 16-year-old would find out that the picture of the little baby was being mocked because it was black. Wow, it was a very dark-skinned baby. And I thought, what a horrible white woman to do such a thing against a young girl, 16-year-old, who just put a little baby picture of someone that she knew, or friends, or relative. Why? Why does she act such way? Why? We do you no harm? And our skin color didn't seem to make a difference when you stole us from Africa. We were always black in color. And you stole us for several hundred years. We made you rich. We made you into the Southern Belle. So why, Amy Cooper, why do you hate us so much? Amy Cooper, I don't trust your apology, not one bit. Amy Cooper, why weren't you arrested? You filed a false police report. You know why you weren't thrown in jail? Because of white supremacy. See, you teach your white children very well.